It was just a mirror, ornate brass with detailed carvings that curled like vines around its edges. But it wasn't the frame that was unsettling. It was the reflection. You see, some objects carry more than just dust and age. Some reflect more than your face. This is the story of a traveler, a mysterious mirror, and the ancient spirits that may live within them. He wasn't looking for anything in particular, just wandering. Istanbul's alleyways have a way of pulling you in, with their winding paths and old stone buildings. The scent of cardamom hung in the air, and the market buzzed with a life all its own. He found the shop by complete accident. There was no sign, just a small brass bell above the door and a window filled with dust-covered antiques. Inside, the air was thick, heavy with the smell of incense and forgotten stories. The shopkeeper was an old man. His eyes were dim, and the lines on his face were so deep, it was as if time itself had etched its signature onto his skin. He didn't speak much English. When the traveler pointed to the mirror, the old man just said one word: Ateş. Fire. The mirror was beautiful and heavy, the kind of thing you'd expect to see in a sultan's palace, not some crumbling hidden shop. When the traveler asked about the price, the shopkeeper didn't answer. He simply wrapped the mirror in a heavy cloth and handed it over. A strange, silent gift. That night, back in his hotel room, the traveler hung the mirror on the wall. He didn't notice anything strange at first, but as he was brushing his teeth, he saw it. A flicker. His reflection. It blinked, but just a fraction of a second too late. He froze, staring, and his reflection slowly curled into a smile. The only problem was he wasn't smiling. He blinked a few times, shaking his head, and the reflection was back to normal, mimicking him perfectly. He laughed it off. Must be jet lag, he thought, or maybe just bad lighting. He tried to make sense of it, but then came the dreams. He was walking through a vast desert with endless sand stretching in every direction. The wind burned his cheeks. In the distance, a figure stood, cloaked in black, its eyes glowing like embers. It was speaking, but not in any language he'd ever heard. And yet, somehow, he understood every word. He woke up startled, his clothes drenched in sweat. He walked over to the mirror. It was cold, unnaturally cold to the touch. The reflection was frosted over, even though the room was warm. He tried to wipe it clean, but the glass seemed to resist, as if something on the other side was pressing back. The next day he went back to the market, determined to find the old man. But the shop was gone. No bell, no dusty window, just a blank stone wall where it had been. He asked around, but no one remembered a shop being there. No one recalled ever seeing the old man. He searched for hours, but found nothing. A few days later, he flew home, taking the mirror with him, and the strange feelings followed. The dreams, the whispers, and the unnerving sense that something was always watching him. Back at home, the dreams grew darker. The desert was no longer empty. Strange shapes, tall and thin, all cloaked in what looked like smoke, moved in the distance. They were watching his every move. He woke every night, sweating and gasping for air. Then came the waking visions. At first, it was just flickers, shadows darting in the corner of his eye. But soon he started seeing full figures, a woman dressed in white, standing right behind him in the mirror's reflection. A man with no face, watching him from the hallway. Whenever he turned around, they were gone. He tried to capture proof. He set up cameras, but the footage always glitched. It would show nothing but static, or the sound would be hopelessly distorted. Brand new, fully charged batteries would be completely drained in just a few minutes. He stopped sleeping. He tried covering the mirror, but the whispering sounds persisted, now seeming to come from inside the walls themselves. The nightmares started bleeding into his waking hours. He would see strange, glowing symbols faintly etched onto his skin, only to vanish moments later. He finally had enough. He fled his house, abandoning everything, including the mirror. He moved to another state, desperate to start over, to forget. But some things don't stay lost forever. Years later, he started traveling again. He found himself in a city he'd never visited before. He was walking down a narrow street when an alley caught his eye. It was nothing out of the ordinary, but as he walked past, a glint of light made him stop. He saw a shop. No sign, just a brass bell and a dusty window. and as he peered inside, his blood ran cold. There on the wall hung the old brass mirror he once owned, gleaming as if waiting for its next unsuspecting owner to meet its gaze. This story taps into a deep ancient fear. The idea of spirits trapped in objects is a tale as old as time. We see it everywhere, from genies trapped in lamps to legends like Bloody Mary, who can be summoned through a mirror. But the entity in our story is something different, something older. It sounds like a djinn. In Middle Eastern folklore, the jinn, or djinn, are supernatural beings made of smokeless fire. They aren't inherently good or evil. They exist on a spectrum, much like humans. They can be benevolent, mischievous, or malevolent. The Quran mentions them as a creation of God, living in a parallel world, unseen by most of us. Jinn are said to be able to possess objects, animals, and even people. They can be masters of illusion, which could explain the waking visions and the shop that disappeared. The traveler's dreams of a fiery desert and smoke-like figures align perfectly with descriptions of the jinn's origins and nature. There are many signs believed to indicate the presence of a jinn. A sudden, unexplained drop in temperature, like the cold glass of the mirror. Electrical disturbances, like the glitching cameras and drained batteries. Strange, untraceable smells like the incense in the shop. And of course, the disembodied whispers and the terrifying feeling of being watched. What's fascinating is how these descriptions overlap with paranormal phenomena from other cultures. Think about shadow people. These are dark, human-shaped figures seen in peripheral vision, often darting away when you try to look directly at them. Is it possible that what some call shadow people, others might call jinn? They both manifest as fleeting, dark shapes and inspire a profound sense of dread. The entity in the mirror, with its cloaked, smoky figures, certainly fits the description. Mirrors themselves have always been seen as portals or gateways to another realm. They show us a reversed, alternate version of our reality. It's no wonder so many cultures have superstitions about them, from covering mirrors after a death to avoid trapping a soul, to the belief that breaking one brings bad luck. We've always been wary of what might be on the other side. A mirror is a perfect vessel, a cage, for a spirit that wants to observe and influence our world. So the next time you find a beautiful antique, a dusty old mirror in a forgotten shop, maybe think twice. You might be getting more than you bargained for. You might be bringing home something that's been waiting for a very long time, for someone to look into its depths and set it free. Or perhaps just to have a new person to watch. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into the world of the unseen, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next story. Stay curious and maybe be a little careful around old mirrors.